This is Lee House 777. YouTube had cited this video as a violation under the H speech content glorifying or inciting violence against another person or group of people is not allowed on YouTube. This is what they say. They also do not allow any content that encourages such a dislike of another person or group or people based on their membership in a protected group. They review educational, documentary, artistic, and scientific content on a case-by-case basis. Limited exceptions are made towards content with sufficient and appropriate context and where the purpose of posting is clear. Now, there was a supremacist group who came on Reddit doing Stormwatch, and now they're on YouTube going to all these places, crime on news, and they're saying outright racial slurs and outright attacks against people. I post a video up that shows Hitler and Jesse Owens smiling and shaking hands, and other brown-skinned people with Nazis, to show that not all Nazis or Germanic people were pink-skinned, and that there's no reason towards racial disunity of people. And they took the video down because the supremacist group said that they don't want to show Nazis. They don't want to show Germanic people of pink skin with brown skinned people smiling. I'll let you see the video yourself, and then after that I'll show you the content.
Or Nazis, they always think of a pink-skinned mortal Caucasians, but this is a lie told in the United States by supremacist groups. There is an interracialness. What I told you, there was black and Nazis. I'm tell you that this Adolf of the House of Hitler wasn't racist towards pure pink-skinned mortal Caucasians. Let's get to the facts. Brown skin being thrown up a high yield. Getting with Jesse Owens in the 30s. What about Hitler and this brown-skinned guy? Not as racist as one would think. What about these German soldiers, Nazis, brown skin? What about these Germans and brown-skinned German Nazis? What about that one? You guys are being lied to. This is Lee House 777.
If you could look at any of these videos right now, it's the Rings of Power videos on Amazon, put out by the Coterie, Dark Vara, and some others. They target the news people too. This is Amazing Baking Soda, and he's saying ning, 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 ning. That's Germanian towards no, no, no. And he's a supremacist. There's like 100 of them on here. And these were the ones that complain about showing Jesse Owens at the Olympics, a national event, an international event, showing Adolf Hitler and Jesse Owens smiling and shaking hands. But YouTube removed this video because it said that little video that you saw cited racist dislike, when it was actually showing clearly a racial unity. That means, unless I'm mistaken, YouTube may be brought into it just like Reddit did, and giving these supremacists a platform to spread more racism. This is that speech that they said that they wanted to be removed. But there's this maiden named Jill Ragon, pink-skinned mortal maiden. They incorporated racial diversity in the most illogical ways possible. The only way that she can rationalize it is if those dark-skinned individuals and other genetic mutants, or are they the product of a violation by a conquering army? Either way, it's just weird and awkward to watch. But YouTube doesn't remove these actual degrading statements, and there's hundreds of them by this same supremacist group that's now entered YouTube, and they're going to turn it away just like they did Reddit. This one goes by the name of Alberto, disguising as a Chicano or a Tribe of Cain Latino. And he says, waiting for them to portray the black woods with freed chicken, trees, and fountains of cool aid with dope birds. But this is actually pre-hate. The H dislike content that's very aggressive and degrading towards other people. And it's pointing out that those items wasn't made by brown-skinned mortals; they were made by Caucasians. And then he added, they'll throw in the watermelon squirrel. And he was talking about stereotypes from the 60s. The supremacist groups take to the Quartering and Devin Gibson's page, and there's a couple others. George the Great. And this, they're spreading, they purposely came there to cause a race riot, as if they're in the dungeons of penitentiaries. But anything's telling people about racial unity, they're saying that to remove that. This one goes by Gooby Bag and says, but don't you know everything Hootie people did was actually on the backs of the slaves that 1% own. That's the reason Nubia is accurately depicted as Wakanda in the historic piece, even though this is not a historic movie. It says Black Panther, but the totes not racist film that only has one major race in it. Hypocrites, every last one of them. And YouTube allows this in their comment section. People inciting racial slurs. You go to any news feed about, say, squeegee kids or mall shootings or constables, and you'll see a lot of supremacist statements that YouTube lets stay in there. People inciting people to read. And this is in violation of their own code that they say anything that cites violence and hate speech. But one video that's showing racial unity between races, they say that's not allowed. And that's get met with a strike. Here's another racist statement by Charles Piper, who's an alias towards a supremacist. If they suspended food stamps and free housing for these criminals who whole family, these are threats of violence, by the way, perhaps there would actually be some consequences towards these cohorts. And this is not a need, this is not somebody familiar with any case. But this is promoting that violence and acts of racial tension. And YouTube is not banning these people. They're allowing them. So they're offended because of racial harmony. And now that seems to be illegal on YouTube. Another one said they're not outraging over a murder because the murderer was a blackened person, but it was so that just dropped the pretense. This implies that people only riot if it was a wheated or a pink-skinned mortal Caucasian. Another supremacist, Mike Freeman, says, when 98% of these murderers and violent felons have the same appearance, he's talking about their skin, what reason is it not discussed? It's clearly easy to see who is committing these crimes, saying that all blackened people are criminals. And YouTube allows this H speech to continue. This racism blatantly written out to the comment sections by these people. Kathleen McAllister, it's about the moment to talk about the race. The brown skin are a protected race. They say otherwise, and the media and Democrats call them racist. this is racism that's calling other people racist, and this is being allowed on YouTube, this hate speech. This is a code word. He calls himself Caspier, has in snow skin or Caucasian, Miji, and he says diversity is their strength. Can we just be honest and call out the dark elephant in the room? Serious lie. They are black. And this is the soft on crime fallout. And he's claiming this is only relating towards blackened people or brown skinned mortals. And this is the supremacists causing race tensions and battles on YouTube, and it's being allowed. And an educational video about racial harmony gets blocked out and taken off. But this is clear inciting riots. This is beyond race. This is sedition. This is tearing down a nation, and YouTube is allowing these supremacists, these extremists to say this kind of stuff, and it's no problem. And this one's even more clear about the sedition. Here's Stephen Wool, has in sheep. Silly Greg, what way do he know that this isn't the start of a civil battle? And YouTube is allowing this. These are people outright talking about overthrowing a nation, causing race battles between different races, and YouTube is not suspending these people off, or they're allowing them to happen. Would that imply that YouTube is supporting these supremacist groups or extremists and outlawing anyone that's talking about racial unity or educational, historical document? YouTube is supporting these supremacist groups to tear down a country or a nation and to kill many people who have no stuff to do with these thinkings of these supremacist groups. Here's another one that says stereotypes exist towards a reason by Studium TT. Thanks towards keeping it a living. And he put a brown skin thumbs up emoji. And this is a supremacist group trying to incite the race battle and insulting at the same moment to various peoples, pretending to be Tribecanes, calling themselves Ortegas and Velasquez, but at the same moment keep talking insults and racial degradations towards brown-skinned mortals. A shout out to the true United States patriots. We heard this before with Ku Klux Klan people and stuff like that. And this is all being overlooked by YouTube. YouTube is letting these people have a platform to spread this diabolical, aggressive, riotous behavior, which is only going to tear nations and families and lands apart. And it's not about a particular race goal. This is about overtake a absorption of a land. And these are extremists. And YouTube is catering to them. Because they each have to make an account with YouTube. They each have to give their data to YouTube. And so YouTube allows them to spread this. Any news site on YouTube that you could find about a crime happening or this and that, you'll see racial slurs being said by these supreme groups and trying to get people to spark up and tell them to take arms up and shoot each other. And YouTube's allowing this. It's against the policy that they said that they don't promote this kind of content that causes violence, extremism, or racial dislike speech. And you're reading this yourself in this speech. You're seeing this yourself in this speech. You can find this on any of the news feeds about any violent crime or any what do you call those people? Those who white squeegee kids or any statement whatsoever, and they're going to talk about violence against brown-skinned people in the United States. Now, it was also leaked by the Quartering and Ryan Kennell that the supremacist groups are planning to do an attack against all the races and cause upheaval with the release of the Love and Thunder Thor movie that came out. And so to promote violence and attacks going around, that was the date that they issued, because the group was called Stormwatch and the movie with the storm. And this was given by Ryan Kennell and the Quartering. and the comrade George the Dragon. That's their YouTube names. I won't tell you their true identities because they didn't want to develop them, divulge them. But this is an actual, probably a national threat. But this is not being taken stern, but it was let out and was made aware of to you. And YouTube is allowing this to happen because this supremacist groups originally took to the internet to do their attacks some 4 decades ago. So this is not new, but it's not being stopped. Now, what kind of patriots and what kind of people will allow such racism and such tearing down their own people and their own nation to happen?